Hello. Welcome to the Simply Together show. It's the 3rd of September and autumn arrived, I'm pretty sure, on the first day of the month. Literally. It's gone grey, it's raining, and we're done for because it's going to start now all the way until at least May of next year.
That is not very optimistic, Cecile. That is not very optimistic.
Well, it's the 3rd of September and it's already raining.
That's okay. We always get that little late spurge at the end of September, October.
Right. Okay.
I've got too many things going on weekends in September. I need the weather to be okay.
You just need to get a rain mat and make sure you've got
we need a sun dance.
A thing over your table when you're selling your stuff. But anyway, this actually right this minute the sun is coming out a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So maybe we're gonna get that burst that Nikkei is gonna
we're gonna have it. We have it every year. By God's grace, we've had it every year. Okay.
All right then. All right. Is that part of the summer that we missed?
Yeah. Before, yes. It has to divide. You have some.
Anyway, how are you doing? How are you, Shelley?
I'm good, thank you. Talking of weather, I flung the dog around and it is warm out there.
It's all a bit sticky.
Did you literally pick him up and go like this?
It was like, I've got to get back. We're walking. We're not playing. We're not doing anything else.
There is no throwing of the ball or the stick or anything like that. You're getting a quick walk and then you need to go home.
Oh my Lord.
He's down laying here next to me going, oh, grump.
Yeah, because he's unhappy. He's unhappy. How are you, Nico?
Do you know what? I'm good, thank you. I am, I'm sad that, I know obviously I'm sure mothers all over the country, in fact world, are probably really happy that they're going to send their little Johnnies and their little Susans and Addies and Ollas back to school on Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday. But for me, I am quite sad because that 20-minute drive to work has been a godsend.
Yeah, it is. When it happens every year. And when it happens, you're like surprised. Oh, yes, the traffic. Yes, that's brilliant. And then after 6 weeks, the traffic then comes back again. And then it's like, oh, God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but never mind. It's, no, but other than that, it's all good.
Good.
We're grateful. We're here. We're celebrating another day. That's the point. That's what I was trying to think of.
Excellent.
And what about you, Cecile?
Oh, what about me? Yeah, I'm good. Got a busy weekend coming up and socializing, not working, socializing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about it really. Yeah, all good at the minute. All good. So today we are going to be talking about very, very difficult subject for some people. It is World Suicide Prevention Month. The 10th of September is World Suicide Prevention Day. So we are going to be talking. That is our topic for today. There may be triggers. So I'm just putting the trigger warning out there right now, because there may be triggers along the way, but it's a subject that does need to be spoken about. I mean, we've spoken about it on here numerous times and will continue to do so. But it is a difficult topic for some people. And I think there's other people that think that it's never going to touch them. But you don't ever know that. You don't ever know that. We have got various organisations going along the bottom of the screen, that if you're feeling that you need to talk to somebody, we've got numbers there for you. And anybody who knows me and knows that I'm a therapist, you can always talk to me as well. Okay? So we are going to go to Shelley. But I've just seen, are you at home, Nico?
Mm-hmm.
Are you moaning about the traffic and you're at home?
No, I
knows
wasn't
what's
moaning about
coming.
the traffic today. I was moaning about the fact that when I
Oh,
go into the office tomorrow or
oh,
Thursday, I've had to. I swapped the days for because they have this thing every now and again. We want you to come in the office on Thursday, and to be fair to them, they do allow you to swap it. And obviously, if you know me, Tuesday and Thursdays are my taekwondo days, so.
yeah,
I always swap it because Thursday's a taekwondo day. I always swap it for the Tuesday so that at least I have one day at home.
yeah. Okay. Going over to Shelley
You're
because
funny.
of course I'm funny. I need to have a comedy show, don't I?
Oh yes, I'll be front row. I'll be there front row. I'll pay a premium.
Will you? I was just going to invite you on just to be there with me. But if you want to pay a premium to just to come and watch, that's fair enough. I think that's still money in my pocket, isn't it? So, anyway, over to Shelley.
Yeah, because we're talking about like Suicide Awareness Day and then the Suicide Prevention Month. As many of our viewers know, I work with the Ollie Foundation. Ollie stands for One Life Lost is Enough. Set up by 3 sets of parents who lost their boys to suicide, went through with their own counselling. So they met through SOBS, which is those that are bereaved by suicide group. And they felt like they wanted to do something different. So rather than set up a charity that helps those going through it, they wanted to try and be that person, be something that was beforehand, before you get to that crisis point. So that's the reason why they set up a charity in which they actually provide training for anyone in the walk of life to be more suicide aware and to get those skills that you could actually then speak to anyone that gets to that crisis point. Because it could be, as Cecile said earlier, that you don't think anyone around you is going to be affected. But what happens when you are going out for a walk? You happen to see someone and you have that thought that something's not quite right. Quite a lot of people have that thought and think it's a complete stranger or it's someone that you work with, and not know how to start up a conversation. So they're frightened of the word suicide. They're frightened that they could make things worse. So they don't say anything. So the Ollie Foundation has got a lot of different, and they've gone through a huge amount of changes as we've come through COVID, and we've had different people join the organisation. Our new CEO, so she is new, that has a different background and has different bits of training and stuff. So the Ollie Foundation always want to provide this support free for all these little courses. They're doing lunchtime bites, I suppose, of their courses at the minute, and they do those every now and again. So those bits and pieces are in the comments, and it is just making your community a more suicide safer place. Suicide can be prevented in a particular way. So I'd say that, but then yes, there are some cases where it just can't be. That they cannot see a way. These people have got to a crisis point, and they've only had themselves to actually talk to, and what they've then actually come up with of how to stop whatever it is that's affecting them is unfortunately to take their life. But to have someone around them that you're not going to make a difference to them, but you are going to then say, I'm here, I'm open, we can have this conversation, let's see if we can find a different path for you to choose. That's what it is, staying safe for now. That's all the Ollie's training is. It's just staying safe for now, to have that conversation and to open that up, and perhaps then showing them other doors that perhaps were then completely blind to them.
Yeah.
But I've got all the links in the comments if you wanted to ask me about any of the courses, because they go from something that's really, really quite light to something that is then really could be quite heavy. But everything is done safely, and done with a mind of being sort of anyway. And you could the biggest courses that they then do is that the intervention. You could have someone that was like me, that just Joe Blogs wanted to do something around their community, and I also then had people that were in the police force and in the ambulance service on my same course. Had people that were in the mental health services. There was teachers, there was all sorts of different people. Anyone can take a little bit of information and either share it with them, and you never know when you're going to use it. You obviously don't want to use it, but anyone could then use it.
It's good just to have that knowledge, so that if there is a situation, you are able to then have a discussion with somebody, rather than shying away from it and thinking that, like you said, that I might make this worse, so I won't do anything. I won't say anything. It
can kind of help. Some of the stuff that I've learned can actually help in general life as well. If you have a conflict, or if yourself are having problems having a discussion about something that's nurking you in your relationships. What I've learned and how I'm then describing things about things that are happening to me has made a difference, because I've found different ways of saying things. It's weird. It's so weird how it can just all, general stuff.
Like you said, sometimes, or the majority of times, people have in their thought process, they have gone through everything and they cannot see any other way out, and that is why they then start thinking about ending their life. But sometimes somebody that they may have a conversation with may just say something that they totally didn't think of, literally didn't think of, and it is about the now. So even if that one thing is there for now, then you work on the future. It's about trying to keep them safe for now. And we can all do that, because you're not going to make it any worse.
That was going to be exactly my question, Cecile, about making things worse. That if you're somebody who hasn't had the privilege of going on a course like Shelley describes, or is not necessarily a counsellor trained like you, and you come across, how can you have confidence not to shy away, even though all your instincts are telling you that something is not quite right and you want to do something, but you obviously, for me, I will probably be scared of making it worse.
To open up that conversation, you could say exactly what you just said now. You could say, I'm sorry to disturb you, but I feel like something's not quite right and I'm worried about you. I don't know you, but is there anything I can help you with? Just having that, and that's enough to snap someone to then think, oh Christ, yeah, I'm not on my own. I'm not. I mean, I've had it before. I mean, I've not been. So it's not like a suicidal kind of thing, but I've been so down. I've taken myself for a walk and then sat down on a bench, and I obviously haven't thought about how my face was, but my whole brain has just switched off, or I've been thinking too much about something. And I've had someone come up to me and say, are you okay? And I've done it myself when I've been walking the dog. I've seen someone on a bench and thought, well, I'm not sure. They could just be having a down day. You might not be suicidal or anything. And I've just gone, morning, you're right. And it's enough just to kind of, oh, well, actually, yeah. Or it's enough to then kind of, actually, no, and it is difficult for people to say, no, I'm not. But you can normally tell, which is why they had that campaign of ask if someone's okay, but then ask again straight away.
Yeah.
Are you okay? But are you really okay? Because your natural knee-jerk reaction is, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's okay.
And especially if they look like they're not okay. I mean, obviously, if it's somebody that you don't know, you're just going by what you think is going on there. If it's somebody that you do know and you can see that they visibly do not look okay, you ask again.
Yeah.
Because the first time they will most probably say, yeah, I'm fine. And you ask again. Because then that's when they're listening to you.
Yeah.
That's when they're then paying attention. Yeah.
And quite often if you've relayed to them what you're feeling or what you've seen, so if they keep saying, no, I'm fine, they say, well, I'm worried because I've seen, like, you've been quiet when you're not normally quiet, or you're like overly loud when you're not normally that loud, like you've thrown yourself into something, or like you're drinking more, anything that you've seen that's the thing that's worried you. If you actually then say, especially the drinking thing, had it recently where someone's then turned to drink, and there has been the conversation of, I'm worried because I've seen you drinking, and they think that they haven't been seen. They think they've been hiding it quite well. And it's like, actually you haven't. And to have that not shouted at you to say stop drinking or anything, but actually then say, I'm worried because I have seen, they've then kind of gone, oh crap, okay, yeah.
I thought nobody had noticed that.
Yeah, I thought I was hiding that quite well, but obviously I wasn't. And and it opened up a different angle of a conversation.
And sometimes it's just it is about those different angles. It's just trying to get in and have a conversation, you know, and it might be that the three of us could see that same person at 3 different intervals and ask 3 different questions or say something 3 different ways. You know, there isn't how you may say, are you okay, might be slightly different to how I say it. The words might be the same, my body language might be slightly different, you know. If it depends, it just depends on that individual, but it's about just trying to have that conversation, you know. So when I'm working with young people, a lot of it around, because the organization that I work for, a lot of it is around making sure they're safe today. And then you can check and message them tomorrow to see if they're safe. But it's trying to get them to be safe today. Because if you're safe today, you may feel able to open up tomorrow. But yeah. And obviously it doesn't necessarily work like that way for everybody. You know, so if you're out there and you're listening, say hello, let us know you're there. And you may have a whole different experience to that. And you may have asked, are you okay, numerous times, and the person said yes, and they still then ended their life. You know, it's not one size fits all.
No, because the whole thing of it is that if you've I was just trying to think back to when I did my training. They don't necessarily use it now, but we saw a video because the training originally comes from Canada, and they showed us a video that was, I'd say about like sixth formers kind of age in school, and someone had said, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? And they kind of got all these kind of like, yeah, I'm fine. And the person's kind of been going to counselling, trying to sort things out. Then all of a sudden, they have a turn round and thought, yeah, everything's fine. They're acting really strange, and everything all of a sudden has changed in this person. But what that person had done was I'm sorting out this, I'm sorting out this, I'm sorting out this, because I know by the end of the week, that's it. I'm going to take my life. That's going to finish up, and then I'm not going to be a burden on you. We're not going to have these same discussions. You're not going to be worried about me. And it was a hard one, a real hard one to watch, because you're watching it and you're going, person's turned out okay, and then doesn't. And it's kind of, it's difficult to know what goes through a person's mind to get to that point of, I'm relaxed about everything because this is not going to be an issue anymore. Or you could have that crisis point hit you so hard and fast that it just, you've ended up in a whirlwind of stuff happening. You can't see your way out of it. So it's the fight or flight thing. And you've tried fighting, doesn't work, can't run away from the situation, it's found you again. And then it's kind of, well, you can't find me if I take my life. And that, a different type of crisis, is another one to then be really difficult to try and get your head around as well, especially for the families that are then involved as well.
Yeah,
you could be having all the counselling, you could have loads of people around you that's willing to talk to you, and you have talked to them, and it's just got to that point of, I just can't cope with this anymore, whatever this thing is. Whether that be like whether you got into drink, drugs, gangs, like knife crime, as we're talking about knife crime, bullying, that it could just have one thing that will then happen, that you could be perfectly okay, one thing will happen, and then that's it. Had enough. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. That's that instant, no, not having this, and then just take your life, which is a scary thing to think of.
But that one thing, like Nike asked, that one thing is not you saying, how are you?
No.
Is there anything I can do to help you? That is not going to be the one thing.
Either. Yeah.
It you know, the one thing is going to be something else. You having a conversation with them is not going to be that one thing.
So could it be that in that conversation you're really, obviously you're not going to go and say, oh, what's wrong with you? I see you want to kill yourself, what's wrong? But basically, is it that you're trying to guess what that one thing is? Because as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking, and it is difficult, because I just remember when the idea of suicide became consciousness. What, you read in the paper when you started reading the paper back in the day. We don't read papers anymore, and stuff like that. And I always wondered, well, what would make them do that? And then I would think, oh my God, that must have been really hard. I wouldn't be able to do that. Then, so in the end, I'm not thinking about what the person is going through. I'm actually thinking about the physical act that they've had to take to do that. Because in my mind, that is so hard.
But in their mind, they've got to a point that is so hard they can't see past that.
Yeah.
So quite often then that act, what they use, how they do that, isn't as hard as living.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So when we're not in that situation, you can have that. I've had that conversation many times, and to me that's the hardest thing ever. That is the hardest thing ever. But when you are in that situation and life is so hard that you don't want to be here, how you end your life is not as hard as living. Living is much harder. So yeah, so it's like you said, so for you and for most of us, how someone does that, it's like, how do you do that? How would you even do that? I can't even imagine that. And that's my reality. But also my reality is, my professional reality is that when I'm talking to somebody or I've been working with people, what they've then done is not as hard as trying to stay alive. That's harder, much harder. There's a lot of there's a lot of oh, I can't think of a word, you know, where actually this looks like one thing, but actually this is actually what it is.
Perspective.
You know what I mean? Yes, yeah.
I mean, the thing that's going through the bottom of the screen, the Hub of Hope, that started off as an app by a mental health charity that was just to make sure that they had all the mental health charities together that was easily searchable. So like a Google for that. But what they then is now turned into is anything that can affect your mental health. So gambling, debt, domestic abuse. It's got everything on there because every little thing can affect you and get to that point where you then sitting there saying, I need help, but I don't know where to get help from, and search. So when I was doing sort of like the training with the Ollie, it's not trying to, so where Cecile was trying to work out as a counsellor what could be affecting their mental health and how to help them. When you do the work when you do the training with the Ollie, it's just finding out just that small bit of information of how you can help them, where they need to get their help from. So it could be that it is that 999, like 111 option 2 for the mental health team version of events. That's the only thing that you're going to do. It could be that it's someone that you know that's had suicidal thoughts but's not actually at that crisis point. So you then kind of go through at a, well, I can't, you're not telling them what to do. And please, I know it's difficult. Sometimes people want to listen to try and respond straight away. But what you need to do is listen to learn.
Yeah.
Learn what they're saying, trying to work out how you can actually help them get their help. You're not trying to tell them what to do. You're not telling them, oh, I'm going to do this. So even if it was to the point of, I'm concerned about you, I need to call 999, is that okay? You're including them in that conversation. If you're getting other help, like if you sat down with them and they're needing help with general life, that it could be any number of things that could then be leading to it, because there's a problem at home. They've then turned to drink, and because they've then turned to drink, they've not got enough money, so they try the gambling. So it could be 3 things that are then going on, but they're not quite sure how to sort stuff out, and they've got themselves into a mess. They've got themselves, by the time that they've realised, they've got themselves into a mess and how to get out of it, kind of thing. But all the way through, it is that you're helping them try and work out what's going on. And the easiest thing, and what you always then hear, is putting extra pressure on them. If you was to then turn around as part of your conversation and say, well, do this for so and so. You've got a wife, you've got a husband, you've got family, you've got this that loves you, you've got that loves you, you've got a good job. They're aware of all of that. They're aware of it. They've already thought about that long before. And it could be that their love for that family has got them to that point, because I'm better off not being here because I'm causing you the problem. Whether they don't know that there's a problem there, and oh my God, I'm going to have to tell them that I've got a couple of grand's worth of debt going on, and I can't tell them that. Or if they're already not aware of, I've put you through all this crap because I put us into debt. They're aware that they're going to affect the family, which is why you get this thing of how your words are then used around suicide and things. I mean, because they've actually got. I was just trying to get the theme of this year. I've forgotten exactly what it was. because the theme of it being it was the words that you're then using.
Mm.
I've forgotten exactly what the actual thing was, but it's actually then the words that you then use in around suicide. So even if you could be talking in a group setting at work, for instance, and you've heard about someone's suicide in the news or something.
Mm.
If you're then saying that's so selfish, this is that, if someone has actually then thought about suicide themselves, it is then so upsetting to them for you to then be thinking that way, and oh my god, would you think that of me?
Mm.
kind of thing.
I think it's hold on, let's have a look.
I put it in the description of the show. Changing the narrative on suicide. That's the long line. That's the long line of it. So it's how you open up and how you're actually talking about suicide in your general in the general thing. I mean, some of the links that are actually in on the notes. Well, actually, that you could actually then take that into work and saying, is there anything that mental health first aid or anything at work could actually implement during this month, or actually on the day, to open up those kind of conversations. There's different things on there that's sort of like conversation starters and things. So whether it's something that you think, like you read it and you think yourself, or you actually have a conversation with someone about it.
Do you, Nikkei, do you have anything like that in your workplace?
No, I mean, to be honest, they don't really champion many things. I think last year, not this MD we've got now, one lady there, she did do like a charity week because they have a charity that they supported. But other than that, it's not, because even I remember when I wanted to do something for Black History Month, it was a fight. They don't really do much. They have got your typical checkbox, you know, if you're not feeling yourself, ring this number, etc. But they don't really do anything to highlight.
Does that then go through to like a corporate?
To be honest, I don't know. I've not really
business...
used it there. I've not used it there, but to me, it just looks like your typical. And the reason why I call it a checkbox, because I just think most places I've worked have had one where it's like when I was working in the civil service, I think it was called employee assistance.
Yeah.
So it is a bit like your CAB, but it was inside the corporate. And obviously, like I said, going back to being a civil servant, I was in the union as well, so you had stuff that would go through there. But they would have times where they would promote stuff and things. But the company where I'm working now, they don't generally tend to do stuff like that. I mean, you could do it as part of a team, but they don't do it corporate wide.
Yeah.
And I think something like that needs to be corporate wide, myself personally. That's my opinion.
So they've got a big thing about mental health first aiders and having a mental health first aider team in any kind of big organisations. But what my argument to that is that I've worked in some of these, as yourself, Nikkei, worked in some of these big corporate things, and to cover themselves, they sign up to a company that then does all of their health. So any of the Oki health and mental health goes through a company. There's not actually anyone on site that would do anything like that.
And it doesn't build awareness either, does it? Because then it is kind of just there. And it's something, I just think if you have events or awareness, even if it's just like a dedicated page on your intranet or something like that, that pops up every now and again, that comes into people's subconscious, because otherwise something could happen and nobody would know. You know, just a perfect example, which is not suicide related, but it kind of makes the point I'm making, in the sense that we had a young person whose father passed away. It was all very traumatic. And another girl that sat next to me believed there was a corporate policy around what you do, etc. So, when we were just trying to do your general basic humanity thing, which was a story for another day, it turns out there is nothing. So if as a team, you there's a lot of young people in significant positions who don't necessarily know how to deal with these things. That's no shade on them. Thank God they've not gotten to that stage of life yet, but they don't know. And there's nothing there that brings it into the subconscious because we don't know. And then when I inquired about it, it turns out, oh no, we don't have that policy anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it is scary that you'll get some of these corporates that will want to do the bare minimum that they need to do by the book.
Yeah.
And because we've got that, that can cover that can cover that. Whereas I used to work for NTL, which was an American company, and we had, it was not a very nice job, I suppose, in a way. He was doing all sorts of different hours. He was on the phone all the time. But what you had as a background for working there was amazing. You had a Friday, which was each team had a little bit of money, not a lot, but a little bit of money. And it was you could bring in stuff on whatever your Friday was. Bear in mind that we work in shifts, so you open 7 days a week. But so your Friday was that you could have crisps and sweets and stuff on the end of your table. So we'd have a run of our team. On the end table was where you had your little meetings and bits and pieces. So all that kind of stuff was there. There was games kind of going on. So where we were working for a TV company, if you like, we would have like the Disney Channel come in and they would run games for us, and we'd have little toys that you could win. The management, if the manager was in the building and the door was open, it was proper open door policy. You would come in, you'd knock the door, okay, for a quick chat, yeah, fine. If the door was closed, it meant that he was doing other bits and pieces. But any of the big managers, their doors, if they were open, you could go in and you could chat to them. And there were always people around that was to do with, before all of this kind of, because this is like 99, before all of like this mental health kind of thing, there was Occy Health that you could speak to, so with a random number. But there was also then people around that were wellness experts. And it was anything that you could speak to. So if you was having problems with, say, for like your shifts, and there was stuff that was kind of going on at home and your manager couldn't help you with, that you had someone around that was then kind of like a bit like a supervisor, I suppose, that would then kind of help you a bit more. It was an amazing company to work for. Amazing company.
Do you think that's because they were American?
Because they were American.
Well, that's interesting, that, because my experience of working for an American company does not match that at all. No. But what I was going to say on a less self-centered note is that people tend to appreciate little things like that.
Yeah.
I think the job could be the most mundane job ever. But once people feel that, there is a place for them, if they're feeling low or fed up, there was somewhere to go. I mean, just a perfect example, I saw something on Instagram the other day, and it was really funny. I can't remember the name of the company. It is a company that you would know. And basically I think they're Korean, might be Korean. And the CEO, his idea is that he wants to look after the staff first, because he believes that if he looks after the staff will go to look after them. And so they've got, all your basic things in place, your holiday and stuff like that, but they also have 10 days where they could just ring up and say, I'm having an unhappy day and I don't want to come to work. And I thought that was really funny. And I thought about it. I thought about what I know about Google, about Southwestern Airlines, all these companies that have these really supposedly good employment practices. I thought that's really interesting now. So I put it in my work WhatsApp group. And one of the younger members came back to it and said, yeah, but we could have unhappy days, but it doesn't matter because we'll still come back and have 50 more cases. And while that was funny and quite a typical response, I actually thought it was quite sad.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
no matter, I mean, me, I have loads of moans and groans and complaints about the company I work for. Obviously, we put gratitude first. But it's just those things, and I don't know whether they were coming from the place we know that we would never ever get anything like that. Because I seem to remember when they tried to introduce the what do we call it, the duvet day.
Yes.
And I think these are all things I just think they could just be those little drops that go to making a day or an hour better
Yeah.
for somebody who is
Yeah.
not in a very good place. Because kind of listening to what you're saying is that you're wanting to keep people safe now. So sometimes now is literally about that moment. And I
Yeah.
just have this idea where, you're in a workplace or you're somewhere, you're hitting that brick wall, and then all you're hearing is no. Because it's corporate no, because you don't have those softer policies in place.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes you just need an afternoon where you are not thinking about any of those kind of things. I need a breather space.
Yeah.
And if you can't have that breather space, then it does then completely affect what you're doing and how you're doing things.
I mean, 10 is fantastic. I mean, I would like to know how many annual leave days they actually get, because if you get a really decent annual leave package, you're not going to get another 10 days on top of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But then you've then got your sick days, haven't you? So what they're actually saying is they're allowing so many sick days.
Yeah.
That's when you're taking one of these days.
I didn't really look into it that deeply, to be honest, because if I did, I just thought, oh gosh, I'll just go down the rabbit hole and thinking, well, how will that work? And, we don't have that in the UK. And yet when I look at how, as much as there are lots of things that people get grumpy about here, but then when you compare it to like America, for example, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, don't complain, man, because if you were in America.
But then if you look at the other side, like look at some of the other European countries, if you look at the Danes, if you look at Belgium, I know people that are there, what they provide you, and the reason why they're a healthier, both mentally and physically, is because they have all these other different things in place. With the kids are at school at different times, the what the parents can then have as their times at work, how their work life balance is, all of that, they are healthier for it.
Yeah.
Through like your mental health and your physical health, because of that work balance, work-life balance, and what they're actually offering, the packages they're offering, the flexibility.
It's, I mean, America's it's a massive country, and they believe that they are, way ahead of all of us with everything that they offer. However,
quite often, even some little things.
Did you like that? Did you like that, Nico?
Yeah. There was something we were watching on the telly, and it was
for another day, Cecile. It's a conversation for another day,
but it is. But that comes again with swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? Because actually, they then have to pay for all of their healthcare and everything else that they then do. So, do you take a day off if you're not feeling well? If you've then got to pay it in a different way? Do you know what I mean?
It depends. Look, I was listening to a video this morning about this lady. She was telling her recovery from cancer story, and she was, you know, when you're that close to that diagnosis, and she was in the hospital and they wanted to do a biopsy, and the doctor came and said, actually, it's not ethical for us to treat us because you don't have insurance. So the treatment stopped, and she's on the bed with her surgical gown having to ring insurance. You know,
and that's, you know, that is if you, I mean, I'm just thinking about there's one or two people, not where I'm working now, where I've worked previously, where their mental health has been quite bad. So they've then taken the sick days. Because of the amount of sick days they've then taken, they're now into a sickness policy, and they need to do this and they need to do that, which then makes them too scared to go off sick, even when they need to. And it just escalates. Yeah. And sometimes that is that catalyst of, you know, I'm not even being supported at work.
Yeah.
And then
what else am I supposed to do?
When you do your back to work after you going in for sickness, they then ask, what can we do to help you? And it'd be like, oh, do you need to do it? I'm talking by own personal experience now. Do you need to have part-time hours? Well, no, that's not going to help me. I can work full-time quite often, but sometimes I can't. I can't tell you how my mental health is or how my actual physical health is. Yeah. Because at that point it was my underactive thyroid that sometimes I would get migraines. I went through hell with my migraines. If I've got a migraine, I can't see. I can't even get in the car when I come into work. But
surely you could take some
part-time. Yeah.
Just take a couple of paracetamol, then you'll be feel better, and then you can come in.
Yeah, just put me sick bucket down here.
In some places.
Yeah. But by me going part-time was not going to help me not have the migraines.
No.
And me going part-time would meant me losing money, which then still would have been up.
Which makes you stressed, which then gives you a migraine.
Yeah, but that Shelley, that's a really good point you made there, because that is a really good analogy for how everything I feel happens in this country. So because you're talking about sickness policy, I was actually there thinking about where people get into a bind with paying their bills. So, and I just remember I had, go figure, I had an issue. Well, I've got an ongoing issue with my utility company, as you know. And I'd had a mini version of it last year, and I remember they cut off my internet. And I remember talking to the guy, I said, but it's really funny. I said, I'm lucky because I'm actually employed, and if push came to shove, I would have to go in the office. I said, but there are many people who rely on the internet for work. So then you are then cutting off their ability to make money to pay the bill. Now, on that day, that I was talking to what I consider to be a visible person. He says this is something he's brought up to them, but it is what it is. We know how our companies here are ran. But then again, it just makes me feel there are just so many things that can trigger so many different things that can contribute to not being a better supported moment. It's just, that in itself is mind-blowing.
Yeah. And that's why, knowing all of those things that could be going on in the background there, if you're then talking to somebody who is really struggling at the minute, you don't necessarily need to get into that whole let's talk about your work or what is actually going on. It's more around, let's just talk about you and how you're feeling. Because sometimes there's so much going on in the background that you physically can't even do anything for them. It's that, you go down that road, then you're going down the rabbit hole, and you're going to go down there with them. Whereas if you just talk about them as a person, then it's about keeping them safe for that day.
If it's someone that you know, I would always say go for a drive or go for a walk. You're not a face-to-face conversation. You're a side-by-side conversation. So it's easier for that person to open up. I know that from experience, on both sides. And just take that time out. So whether that is a lunch break, just that first conversation, it's just opening up and sort of like, how can I help you work out what you need to do? It is all that it is. Even if it is just that you want to have they want to have the talk, they just want someone else to get it out of their system. Is not trying to fix their problems for them. But yeah, definitely that side-by-side talk is a big one. You'd be surprised at how sitting face-to-face with someone and come on then, talk to me, makes your body go, I ain't doing that. I can't even now think about what I want to talk about, even though 2 seconds earlier I was all ready to spill it. That as soon as you've had that it's like, oh no. And I think for me personally, that goes back to when you're at work and you have that face-to-face meeting. And it's kind of, come on then. And you think, oh crap.
There's a lot of things, you know, whether it's young people, whether they're adults, a lot of things are around come into my office and come and talk to me and sit in front of me, and then we're going to have this conversation. Whereas if it's in a different setting, one that's not so, you know, so just so making them feel like they're on the spot and they've got to then talk about the feelings that they don't necessarily want to talk about. So it can be quite difficult in those situations. So that side on, that works very well. In a car, that works very well. You know,
and find if you know you've only got an hour, say, right, okay, we've got an hour, so we're not going to get into all of it, but we can get some of it. Or that you then say, I have got all afternoon. To put a time on it, I always, and then could be me personally, I don't know whether other people have felt this, but when you've kind of got, you want to have this conversation with me, but I know I've only got a 20-minute, half an hour kind of time, and I'm worried I'm not going to be able to get everything out in that time to actually have a decent conversation. So I might as well not get into it.
Yeah.
And I've done that a lot recently, that it's kind of, okay, you want to talk, or I need to talk to get something out of my system with you, but I can't because I know I've only got half an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into it. So it's not going to be a decent conversation. Whereas if it is, right, okay, I need to have this proper conversation, and
but sometimes it can have that opposite effect, as in, so say somebody comes into your office and they says, have you got time? And you say, I've literally only got 10 minutes. And then they say, okay, I'll leave it. But you know, and you can see that they're not looking their best for whatever reason. They look like they're worried. They look like they're anxious. Giving them that 10 minutes, not getting into it, but giving them that 10 minutes.
I've got that.
Can make them feel, like, actually, I know that Cecile didn't have enough time, but she did make some time. And then you make time. You make that arrangement with them to have some time with them another, you know, when both of you are in free. It's all of those things, you know. No, I haven't got time. You'll have to come back later. That anyone who's struggling, that really doesn't help. You got to look at them and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know who that is. So hello, whoever you are.
Yeah,
do you know who that is?
No, that's someone on YouTube, and I think they've popped off again.
Yeah, I don't think you actually get to see people on YouTube all the time, because whenever I'm not on the show, I'm always watching on YouTube and I always comment. And sometimes you can't see it. Occasionally, but mostly I don't think you can actually see it.
Okay.
That's probably what's this app called? StreamYard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a StreamYard thing.
Anyway. No, I think it's YouTube because it's got the little red thing.
Yeah,
anyway, we are.
So soon as like, anyway.
Well, you've only got 2 minutes, and you need to go to work. So
I'm looking up there was flickering at me.
I'm actually thinking of you.
Oh, bless you, Cecile. Much love.
We are coming to the end of the show. There have been all the info going across the bottom. There'll be info on our page. Like I said, anybody who knows me, or even if you don't know me, I'm a therapist. You can always get in touch. It's a subject that needs to be discussed, and people need to know that they have that safe space to be able to talk about it. And it shouldn't just have 1 month, but we've got many things that have 1 month, and we say they shouldn't have 1 month. So this is just another one. It should be World, Suicide Prevention every day, not just a specific day. But we'll be back next week.
Yay.
I'm hoping to have a guest on next week.
Ooh.
Oh. Wow.
That's right.
That's the first time it's been her internet that's got a bit funny.
I know. Oh yeah.
Let's see if she comes back or not. Yeah, because there was a guest that she got. Yeah, it's completely gone.
Oh, funny.
Oh, bless.
Oh dear, never mind. I know she did mention there was a guest. Well, sometimes I think for some people, depending on the guest, the time slot's not always suitable for them. But yeah,
I think she's trying to come back, but Cecilia, if you can listen, yeah, it's not. Oh, is it doing it? Oh, it's doing it.
I don't know what happened there. I literally don't know what happened there.
Oh, I thought maybe your phone rang.
No, because I use my laptop. I'm not on the phone. I just disappeared. But anyway, so we'll be back next week, and we've got our community Zoom next week, Thursday as well. So we'll talk about that as well. Anything else you ladies want to add? No,
that's amazing. Did you guys all see the No, that's good. It's all right. Never mind. I just saw that event on Tuesday, but then I just thought it's rather random compared to, but it's just something to promote Luton. That's all. The event that happened at Leagrave Park on Saturday.
Oh, I didn't go, but I know.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously Shelley was there.
Yeah, I popped in towards the end, saw Dee, and then I saw online that Patty was there. And I'm like, Patty, how come I didn't see you? I was there. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see her. Apparently she was right at the very, very end. Yeah. I didn't actually see her at all, and I thought I'd seen everything. Yeah, I was not impressed. Not impressed with Mister.
But never mind. So yes, that's it. So guys, stay happy.
Yes, and we'll see you all again next week. Bye.